Hare Krishna. I am back to read Srimad Bhagavatam with all of you. Before we start, please join me with folded hands for prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. As you know, we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto. We are in chapter 12 and we are going to start this reading from text 18. But before I start, those of you who are seeing this series for the first time, I have a request to make. There are certain rules about how you are supposed to listen to these scriptures. And one thing that's extremely important about listening to Srimad Bhagavatam is to really go through it right from the beginning and not really jump in between and start listening to sections that interest you. This is not an ordinary book. This is not like a novel or a film where you directly go to a segment that you seem interested and start viewing it. So please, there is a process, and this process is meant to help us get the desired understanding to actually understand the topics when we get there. These are not material topics, these are spiritual topics, and for understanding spiritual topics we need spiritual senses or enlightened senses, and to develop that we need to really go through the process recommended. So I beg all of you, those who are joining into listening to this series and subscribing to this, please start from the beginning. Each part is only for 15 minutes. So you in no time, if you want to catch up, you will be able to catch up and be with all of us. Please do exchange your views and questions, and those can be answered in private or in public, as we may discuss and decide. The second thing important about listening to any of these scriptures is that it should be listened from somebody who is either himself or herself enlightened, or comes from a proper disciplic succession. Even when somebody says that he or she is enlightened, since we do not know how to check that, right? We should not go by what we simply see, what they wear, what they talk. That's not important. And since we are not qualified to judge them, the best thing is to make sure that whoever you are listening to comes through a disciplic succession. And also, whether a person is enlightened or not, that's like a certification, somebody who comes through that and then in a process actually starts giving discourses and then becomes a guru, and all the other, people in the community are giving that regard to that person, then it's proven that that person does have the desired qualifications to be the guru or the preacher. As far as I am concerned, I have been a student of spirituality under my Guruji for the last 15 plus years. And frankly, I am rarely expressing anything of my own in this reading. This is Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary that I'm reading, written by Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who comes from a great disciplic succession. He belongs to the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, and he is a disciple or shishya of Saraswati Thakur, who again, if you trace back the whole parampara, then it goes on till Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Lord Krishna's avatar himself in Kali Yuga in the form of a devotee. So what we are reading is directly from him, and he is a very, very authorized source, well recognized and established. He is also the founder of ISKCON, that we all have heard of and know, and he is the one who is responsible for making Lord Krishna's name a household name even in the Western countries. So please do understand that this is a serious business, and if you are becoming a part of listening to this, then please do it in complete seriousness. And I can assure you that with the 15 plus years of personal experience that I have, everything that is stated here is true, right? And like in any other area, right, the only way to understand this or to challenge this is to really do what it recommends us to do, and then feel it for ourselves, right? So unless you are ready to get into the system and accept a guru, find a guru in the first place, accept a guru, and do follow the instructions provided by the guru, and also then read these scriptures when the right time comes, only then actually you derive the complete benefit. But these are scriptures, unlike other mundane books. They give us the meaning according to the level where we have arrived. So the same book, you can go on reading forever. Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and you will always derive new meanings according to your level of spiritual maturity. So with this, I will continue with the reading, and those of you who have been there from right from the beginning, I hope you all are listening with complete attentiveness, and I once again request you, the best way to actually read these scriptures is along with other devotees, and it is always good to have question answers discussions on these topics, which bring in clarity and also help us remember when it's most important for us to remember. So please do interact. I would love to interact with any of you, whatever your age, whatever your experience, whatever your questions, as long as they're related to Krishna consciousness or even simply conscious living. Right? So let's get to the reading now. We have finished reading chapter 12 till text 17, and we're going to start from text 18. Shri Rajovacha Apyeshvanshayan Rajarshin Punya Shlokan Mahatmanaha Anuvartita Svidyashasa Sadhuvaden Sattamaha. Translation. The good king Yudhishthir inquired, O great souls, will he become as saintly a king, as pious in his very name, and as famous and glorified in his achievements as others who appeared in this great royal family? Purport. The forefathers of King Yudhishthir were all great saintly kings, pious and glorified by their great achievements. They were all saints on the royal throne, and therefore all the members of the state were happy, pious, well-behaved, prosperous, and spiritually enlightened. Under strict guidance of the great souls and spiritual injunctions, such great saintly kings were trained up, and as a result the kingdom was full of saintly persons and was a happy land of spiritual life. Maharaj Yudhishthir was himself a replica of his ancestors, and he desired that the next king after him become exactly like his great forefathers. He was happy to learn from the learned Brahmanas that by astrological calculations the child would be born a first great devotee of the Lord, and more confidentially would be born a first great devotee of the Lord, and more confidentially he wanted to know whether the child was going to follow in the footsteps of his great forefathers. That is the way of the monarchical state. The reigning king should be a pious, chivalrous devotee of the Lord and fear personified for the upstarts. He must also leave an heir apparent equally qualified to rule over the innocent citizens. In the modern setup of the democratic states, the people themselves have fallen to the qualities of the Shudras or less, and the government is run by their representative who is ignorant of the scriptural mode of administrative education. Thus, the whole atmosphere is surcharged with Shudra qualities manifested by lust and avarice. Such administrators quarrel every day among themselves. The cabinet of ministers changes often due to party and group selfishness. Everyone wants to exploit the state resources till he dies. No one retires from political life unless forced to do so. How can such low-grade men do good to the people? The result is corruption, intrigue and hypocrisy. They should learn from the Srimad Bhagavatam how ideal the administrators must be before they can be given charge of different posts. Text 19. Shri Brahmana Uchuhu Partha Prajavita Saksha Dikshva Kuriv Manavaha Brahmanyaha Satya Sandhascha Ramo Dasharathiryatha. Translation. The learned Brahmana said, O son of Pritha, this child should be exactly like King Ikshvaku, son of Manu, in maintaining all those who are born. And as for following the Brahmanical principles, especially in being true to his promise, he shall be exactly like Rama, the personality of Godhead, the son of Maharaj Dashratha. Purport. Praja means the living being who has taken his birth in the material world. Actually, the living being has no birth and no death, but because of his separation from the service of the Lord and due to his desire to lord it over material nature, he is offered a suitable body to satisfy his material desires. In doing so, one becomes conditioned by the laws of material nature and the material body is changed in terms of his own work. The living entity thus transmigrates from one body to another in 84 lakh, I repeat, 84 lakh species of life. But due to his being the part and parcel of the Lord, he not only is maintained with all necessaries of life by the Lord, but also is protected by the Lord and his representatives, the saintly kings. These saintly kings give protection to all the prajas or living beings to live and to fulfill their terms of imprisonment. Maharaj Parikshit was actually an ideal saintly king because while touring his kingdom, he happened to see that a poor cow was about to be killed by the personified Kali, whom he at once took to task as a murderer. This means that even the animals were given protection by the saintly administrators, not from any sentimental point of view, but because those who have taken their birth in the material world have the right to live. All the saintly kings, beginning from the king of the sun globe down to the king of the earth, are so inclined by the influence of the Vedic literatures. The Vedic literatures are taught in higher planets also, as there is reference in the Bhagavad Gita chapter 4 verse 1 about the teachings of the sun god Vivaswan by the Lord, and such lessons are transferred by disciplic succession as it was done by the sun god to his son Manu and from Manu to Maharaj Ikshvaku. There are 14 Manus in one day of Brahma, and the Manu referred to herein is the seventh Manu, who is one of the Prajapatis, those who create progeny, and he is the son of the sun god. He is known as the Vaivasvata Manu. He had 10 sons and Maharaj Ikshvaku is one of them. Maharaja Ikshvaku also learned Bhakti Yoga as taught in the Bhagavad Gita from his father Manu, who got it from his father the sun god. Later on, the teaching of the Bhagavad Gita came down by disciplic succession from Maharaj Ikshvaku, but in course of time, the chain was broken by unscrupulous persons and therefore it again had to be taught to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So all the Vedic literatures are current from the very beginning of creation of the material world, and thus the Vedic literatures are known as Apurusheya, not made by man. Apurusheya, not made by man. The Vedic knowledge was spoken by the Lord and first heard by Brahma, the first created living being within the universe. Maharaja Ikshvaku, one of the sons of Vaivasvata Manu, he had 100 sons. He prohibited meat eating. His son Shashada became the next king after his death. Manu, the Manu mentioned in this verse as the father of Ikshvaku, is the seventh Manu of the name Vaivasvata Manu, the son of sun god Vivaswan, to whom Lord Krishna instructed the teachings of Bhagavad Gita prior to his teaching them to Arjuna. Mankind is the descendant of Manu. This Vaivasvata Manu had 10 sons named Ikshvaku, Nabhaga, Drishta, Sharyati, Narishyanta, Nabhaga, Dishta, Karusha, Prashadra, and Vasuman. The Lord's incarnation, Matsya, a gigantic fish, was invented during the beginning of Vaivasvata Manu's reign. He learned the principles of Bhagavad Gita from his father, Vivaswan, the sun god, and he re-instructed the same to his son, Maharaja Ikshvaku. In the beginning of the Treta Yuga, the sun god instructed devotional service to Manu, and Manu, in his turn, instructed it to Ikshvaku for the welfare of the whole human society. Lord Rama, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, incarnated himself as Sri Rama, accepting the sonhood of his pure devotee Maharaja Dashratha, the king of Ayodhya. Lord Rama descended along with his plenary portions, and all of them appeared as his younger brothers. In the month of Chaitra, on the 9th day of the growing moon in the Treta Yuga, the Lord appeared as usual to establish the principles of religion and to annihilate the disturbing elements. When he was just a young boy, he helped the great sage Vishwamitra by killing Subahu and striking Maricha, the she-demon, who was disturbing the sages in their daily discharge of duties. The Brahmanas and Kshatriyas are meant to cooperate for the welfare of the mass of people. The Brahmana sages endeavor to enlighten the people by perfect knowledge, and the Kshatriyas are meant for their protection. Lord Ramachandra is the ideal king for maintaining and protecting the highest culture of humanity known as Brahmanya Dharma. The Lord is specifically the protector of the cows and the Brahmanas, and hence he enhances the prosperity of the world. He rewarded the administrative demigods by effective weapons to conquer the demons through the agency of Vishwamitra. He was present in the bow sacrifice of King Janaka, and by breaking the invincible bow of Shiva, he married Sita Devi, daughter of Maharaja Janaka. After his marriage, he accepted exile in the forest for 14 years by the order of his father Maharaja Dashratha. To help the administration of the demigods, he killed 14,000 demons, and by the intrigues of the demons, his wife Sita Devi was kidnapped by Ravana. He made friendship with Sugriva, who was helped by the Lord, to kill Vali, brother of Sugriva. By the help of Lord Rama, Sugriva became the king of the Vanaras, a race of gorillas. The Lord built a floating bridge of stones on the Indian Ocean and reached Lanka, the kingdom of Ravana, who had kidnapped Sita. Later on, Ravana was killed by him, and Ravana's brother Vibhishana was installed on the throne of Lanka. Vibhishana was one of the brothers of Ravana, a demon, but Lord Rama made him immortal by his blessings. On the expiry of 14 years after settling the affairs at Lanka, the Lord came back to his kingdom Ayodhya by flower plain. He instructed his brother Shatrughna to attack Lavanasura, who reigned at Mathura, and the demon was killed. He performed 10 Ashwamedha sacrifices and later on he disappeared while taking a bath in the Sharayu river. The great epic Ramayana is the history of Lord Rama's activities in the world, and the authoritative Ramayana was written by the great poet Valmiki. Text 20. So with this we will end the first reading, friends. It's so interesting that I kind of lost track of time. I'm sorry, it has extended by over 5 minutes. I will see you all back with the next reading. Till then, stay safe, stay conscious. Hare Krishna.